John Razimus here. This isn't a full episode, but I'm just going to show some of my ghost hunting equipment, and I am doing the best I can to find proof. This camera you're looking at right now is my full spectrum 4K camera. I have to thank the supporters, people that support me. One of my supporters is a YouTuber named Free Thinker Silver. Now, Free Thinker Silver, he has different subjects on his channel. I'm going to talk about this in the future. Perhaps I'm going to collaborate with him in the future. Now, sure, he's going to say some controversial things, but if you search, you can definitely find some paranormal themed stuff. I'm just going to type in paranormal, see what we get. And don't fool around with two mirrors facing each other and other paranormal stories. He talks about magic mirrors in this video. It really helped me out, to be honest. The magical properties of mirrors is a very unknown subject. I'm going to be researching that, and he talks about there's a thing called a devil's toy box, which is pretty much putting a bunch of mirrors, six-sided mirror, only on the inside, not the outside, in an attempt to pretty much get a demon to maybe, you put a recorder in there and supposedly stuff happens. It's a bad idea. Don't mess with mirrors on any magical level. I could even say on Ghost Adventures, they crossed the line on a few episodes here and there. I'm a big fan of Ghost Adventures, but when they cross the line, it makes me say, you know what, I wouldn't go that far, I wouldn't do that. For example, there's an episode where the Ghost Adventures crew are on a Native American land, and aside from any controversy related to that, they didn't really get much evidence. So I think their sound tech or their video or audio tech, I can't remember which one of them, sets up a mirror in the cave and sets up a couple candles and starts scrying in a mirror to get more data to prove ghosts exist. I want to prove ghosts exist more than anyone. I have acquired some brand new things I'm going to be showing you. This is my full spectrum camera, and it's thanks to supporters like Free Thinker Silver. So even though I may not agree with some of his more controversial videos, he just talks off the top of his head. I'm going to try to collaborate with him in the future on perhaps magic mirrors or some other paranormal subject. I have watched a few of his videos, and they're interesting. So check him out. It's a very sad month. It's a very sad month. First, Art Bell passes away. I'm going to be having a tribute in my Ouija board episode coming soon on Art Bell. I heard him say his Ouija board story at least 4 times live on the air, and many other obscure stories. And so you're going to see these top 10 videos on Art Bell or interviews, and most definitely they're top 10 to some people. But I'm always going to have my top 10, and there are not going to be any of those. And I just want to share some things about Art Bell that I know. I'm a huge fan. Rest in peace, Art Bell. Then Harry Anderson, the magician, the actor, the comedian. Harry Anderson passed away. Harry Anderson, the star of Night Court and his own comedy magic specials. I went to the Magic Castle because I saw a Magic Castle booth at this convention that someone dragged me to. The convention was only 15 bucks. They dragged me to it. It was a convention for TV stars or something like that. It was kind of a convoluted TV movie. It was very generic. I didn't know who was going to be there. But Harry Anderson happened to be there. And man, I only had $10 in my wallet, and the photographs and the autographs were $20. So I felt really bad. I didn't even walk up to him to shake his hand because I didn't want to have the excuse, I don't have $20, I wish I did. But I got to see him perform a trick. He walked out and he performed a trick, a comedy trick. It was hilarious. He's a very funny guy. But out in the lobby was a Magic Castle booth. And I didn't know this at the time, but Harry Anderson was an avid member of the Magic Castle, and he likely invited the Magic Castle to have a booth in the lobby. And I walked up to that booth, and I said, "Hey, I love the Magic Castle. I've never been. I want to go." And I guarantee you, Harry Anderson invited the Magic Castle to have a booth. If it wasn't for Harry Anderson, I never would have went to the Magic Castle. I got an invitation. I went a few months later. It was awesome. I recommend you check out the Magic Castle. It's not hard to get an invitation. There are websites that give out free invitations. You can find them. Members will give invitations to anybody. The one requirement is, well, I'd say two requirements entering the Magic Castle would be you have to wear proper attire. You have to wear a tie and a jacket, and you have to buy a dinner. And I bought the ribeye steak, the cheapest, believe it or not, the cheapest thing on the menu, the ribeye steak. And I think it was like $20 or something. So yes, it is expensive, but it was a one-time thing, and you get to go to 3 different magic shows. They have like different theaters. It was an enjoyable experience. The magicians there are very awesome. They're very good at what they do, and they're not famous. Usually it's just struggling magicians, but the ones I witnessed were very well trained, or very well disciplined in the art of magic. Then we went downstairs and we saw magicians coming out of a magic school, kind of like Harry Potter, but it was just illusion school, but still it was pretty funny. Getting off on many tangents here. Vern Troyer passed away. Vern Troyer at the age of 49. Man. You know, I'm a huge fan of Vern Troyer's YouTube channel. I watched it avidly for the past 2 years. I even made a Vern Troyer egg and jelly sandwich after watching his favorite sandwich video. How many people can say that? But it doesn't matter. Vern Troyer, though, man, he was the nicest YouTuber I've ever seen in my life. I hope to aspire the niceness, even a fraction of it, of how awesome and nice and kind Vern Troyer was to his fans. He would have mail openings, he would open mail, and he would always mail stuff back signed. He was just a very generous guy. And he was obviously a huge movie star in the Austin Powers movies. Austin Powers. So that's kind of threes. Things happen in threes. Art Bell, Harry Anderson, and Vern Troyer. Other people have a different list of 3 of their favorite celebrities that passed away recently. Everyone dies. It's a sad story. But the afterlife exists. That's a big message of these devices. Even though there might be a little bit of a, what type of spirit is this? It's still proof of consciousness beyond the physical body. And I'm going to show you a few of these devices here. Here is a brand new device I just got. It is a Paranormal's periscope. It says right here, periscope. And yes, this whole video is going to be shot in a full spectrum UV spectrum. So you turn it on. I've never used this before. When I get devices, I don't immediately use them other than testing out to see if it affects what it's meant to affect. It does affect and the electromagnetic static field. Static field is something I've noticed works. As you know, this REM pod I have, I'm not sure if it's an official REM pod or a knockoff REM pod, but it works. So I have acquired focusing on static electricity devices. This Paranormal's device, you turn it on, has a very cool button. Depending upon the static field on my hand, which may be a lot, may be nothing, this thing lights up. Now what's cool about this, let's try to get it to light up. Might have to build some static to get it to really work. It does work. I have tested it out. It even has a different, you can order, okay, here we go. Here is it. What? Hello? Oh my gosh. Did you hear that? That was my voice being repeated. I did not know that option existed. Does that option exist?
It has a. It has a.
That is unusual.
That's unusual.
Okay, there happens to be a little microphone in here I did not know existed until now. So this is my hand manipulating the static electricity field. It's not a ghost or anything. But the very cool thing about this device is a spirit can literally walk through it or move its hand through it or move its energy through it from right to left or left to right. A very unique feature you're not going to see in other devices. The middle are yellow. It works better at night. But for the camera, this is a perfect type of device. Paranologies, it's all custom built by the Paranologies group, and it's 3D printed. I think it's a very useful device, which is why I ordered. I want to keep that clean from dust, but it's the reason I ordered two of these. I ordered two compact versions. Now, these compact versions, I'm going to be testing them out most definitely. I'm glad I got two of them. Let's turn them on right now. I love the button. It's very cool. It's a 3D printed button, and just the way it works is very cool. Now, it's a very sensitive device, but at the same time, it works on breaking that static field. So it's not easy to set it off. A ghost, a spirit can definitely set these off. I've seen videos of it working, and I have had these work. Let me just turn one of them off. I'm going to be using these hopefully a lot in the future. I'm greatly looking forward to it. It's not meant to be handheld walking around, but I suppose you could do that. It has little feet on the bottom for the purpose of setting somewhere. I like the fact that it's tall. A lot of these entities will set off devices that are taller rather than shorter on the floor. Perhaps some entities crawl around the floor, but I think some float around the ceiling, and some are going to appreciate the middle ground. So putting this on a tripod, for example, might get better results. Here's an example of what it looks like. Now the colors are going to be different in this ultraviolet spectrum camera, but you can see it working. This is me manipulating the field. It took a while for it to warm up and really notice the field, but it's a very useful device when you want to get evidence on camera really starkly, especially in the dark. I'm going to be using these in the future. I greatly look forward to it. And of course I have these ePods. I haven't had success with these ePods yet, but that doesn't mean anything. I've only tested them out for a couple days on that one experiment. Speaking of the one experiment, a little update. The Friday the 13th experiment. These supposedly work with the negative spectrum of the static electricity field as opposed to a positive spectrum. I don't know the difference, but I'm looking forward to it, and it's always nice to have a different variety of REM pod type devices. The Friday the 13th update. What happened was I put all of the devices in this corner, not as they are now. I kind of just rearranged them after the fact, but on Friday night, nothing happened. If you watch the live stream, nothing happened. I cleaned my room before the live stream. We're talking extensively, short of vacuuming, but I cleaned it a lot. And I think that had a positive impact on the room, a feng shui. The spirits didn't want to be in a cleaner room. They wanted to be in a perhaps a dirty room, whatever the case may be. That's my only guess as to why they left, other than the fact that they're trying to troll me and really just push my buttons and purposefully showed no proof on a live stream. Whatever the case may be, you can't consider it a friendly spirit if it refuses to show itself on camera and only off camera or whatever the case, only in certain environments. It did show itself with the first experiment, minimally with the other experiments. The live stream was technically the third experiment, which I ran from Friday night to all day Saturday. I left these devices on all day Saturday, except for the new ones, which I just got. Nothing happened on Saturday. Nothing. Just like Friday, nothing. I left them on until Sunday morning. And I had this clock on at the time. I accidentally unplugged it, but no big deal. On the camera, I have the footage. I sped it up. I left the camera on for 4 hours at a time, and then I knew we would fill up. So if nothing happened, I would delete the footage. So I did this all day Saturday. Record for 4 hours, delete. Record, delete. Record, delete. If anything happened when I left the room, it's deleted. I don't think anything happened. So, hoping that he would continue to record, I went to bed on Saturday night. I hit record for the final time after deleting the previous footage. And the camera, which was this one right here, recorded for 8 hours straight. I didn't even know this thing can record for 8 hours, but I definitely must have a card in here that can hold it. I happen to have a 128 gigabyte card in here. So this 128 gigabyte card can record maybe 9 hours. I don't know. But I probably got pretty close to the limit. And not knowing that this is broken, this right here is how I usually upload. And this cord is damaged. I didn't know that. So it took 3 days to upload the 8 hours of footage. I later used this alternate port right here and only took a few minutes to upload something. But on Sunday morning at 9:31 a.m., my REM pod went off by an intelligent entity. This thing went off just like this. At 9:31 a.m. It woke me up. I immediately jumped up and I started recording with actually another angle to prove no one's in the room. I started recording with one of my GoPros. I believe I started recording with this GoPro right here, this GoPro session. And I kind of threw the GoPro around. I put it on a tripod, tried to get a better angle, and then I started doing EVP sessions. I did an EVP session with this recorder right here, and unfortunately I'm unable to upload this vintage digital Sony recorder to my computer because there's special Sony software that you need, and I haven't been able to do it. This software is made for like Windows 95 or something ancient. I don't know what it's made for. Maybe Windows XP, Windows 2000. Whatever it's made for, something ancient I don't have. I might have to actually open up an old Windows emulator just so I can use the software that comes with. Digital Voice Editor and Sound Organizer are the two software required to convert that Sony file format into an actual usable format like MP3 or something like that. But I did record with multiple recorders, including this one right here, which I'm recording my voice with right now. And listening and listening, I said, Spirit, speak into this recorder if you'd like to say anything. I didn't ask any specific questions. I just said, would you like to say anything? And it did seem to pause intelligently. And then he would go off, the REM pod. And unfortunately, it didn't set off the other devices, just this. So the data isn't the best. The fact that it only set this off and not the other devices, I even said, can you please set off the other devices? And it wouldn't do it. I don't know why this is such a sensitive object or the entity recognized this from a previous experiment. All I know is I pulled out the battery after 30 minutes of this, replaced it, made sure it worked, put in the old battery, it worked, it all worked. But the spirit was disinterested after I pulled out the battery, and it went away. Now, I turned this off in an attempt to basically give the spirit less options where it had to use a different device, and it pretty much left and refused to do so. 30 minutes after I ended the experiment at around 10 a.m., the two tenants next to me left the house, which tells me that that spirit that woke me up at 9:31 a.m. on Sunday morning, and this is the Sunday closest to that Friday the 13th experiment. We're talking, this would have been Sunday the 15th. I think the spirit woke up or decided to bother me at 9:31 a.m. the same time these people next to me were waking up. These people are relatives of mine, and I'm not going to badmouth them, but I did talk with one of them how I think possibly this spirit might be connected with you guys. And that relative of mine said I wouldn't be surprised. So I'm glad they're open-minded to that possibility. But pretty much the same time I ended the experiment, they left the house within 30 minutes. So I think the spirit went with them wherever they were going. I think when they move out, and they've already gotten an apartment, when they move out, I think the spirit might follow them, but they come back to visit all the time. Maybe the spirit's going to come back. You know, I'm not interested in attachments of random spirits. I'm not interested in that. I'm interested in proof. I'm interested in finding the proof. So I might be cutting down any room-related experiments. It's kind of freaky. It's kind of in the realm of a Ouija board. I'm not going to deny it. There's going to be a Ouija board episode coming soon where I say, beware. Don't use Ouija boards. Only negative things can happen with using a Ouija board. Show me, please, one example of a positive result of using a Ouija board. I can't think of a single positive thing, a single redeemable quality of a Ouija board. So yes, I'm going to have some Ouija boards are scary, don't use them stories, but I'll have some interesting stories as well. I heard Art Bell mention his Ouija board story 4+ times live on the air, and good luck finding that. Maybe you'll find one or two, but I've heard probably most, if not all, of the times he mentioned it. And when Art Bell mentioned his Ouija board story, he would not elaborate on any details except for a couple times. But the number one message Art left was concerning Ouija boards was don't use them. Art Bell said, don't use Ouija boards. Ouija boards aren't toys, don't play with them. He said it was the scariest experience of his life, the most frightening experience of his life, and he wouldn't elaborate what happened, ever. But I heard the story enough times where he elaborated slightly, and I'm going to add what I remember from what Art Bell told us over the years about his Ouija board story. He has many stories. Art Bell had many, many cool stories. Art Bell saw a huge stealth UFO. Now, he lived in Pahrump, Nevada, very close to Area 51. It could have been a test experiment device. He said it made zero sound. He said it kind of moved like a blimp, but it didn't look like a blimp. It looked like a solid, angled, triangular metal craft. Not flight friendly. It looked like just a big giant triangle in the sky. And he said he might have been able to throw a rock at it, it seemed so close, with no sound. Art Bell had many, many cool experiences he shared. He left his body one time when he was in Paris. So maybe I'll talk about more stories I remember from Art Bell. Rest in peace. I thank you for watching. I have many devices I'm going to be talking about. I have equipment I'm going to be testing out in the field. I have many recorders. You know, just when I corner the field on this type of recorder, I find out that I can't get the files off of here without some obscure software that doesn't work with modern Windows. So I'm going to have to work with that and try to get the software to work. But until next time, this is not an episode, it's simply an update video. I thank you for watching. This has been John Razimus. Be seeing you.